Now at 5, prepare for not knowing all the results on primary election day in less than 3 weeks. How long changes caused by coronavirus could delay knowing the numbers?
There's no question that there's been a lot of learning about COVID.
Local doctors weigh in on a rare but dangerous inflammatory syndrome in children that could be linked to COVID-19.
Helping small businesses impacted by the pandemic. I'm Nicole Griffin tonight in Hamilton County with details on a new grant program available right now.
This is RTV6 News at 5, working for you.
Now at 5, gray skies and periods of rain, but as the weekend begins, the rain is on its way out of the state at this hour. Thanks for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. While the rain is ending for now, we're not in the clear for the whole weekend. Storm Team 6 meteorologist Kyle Mounts is tracking that tonight. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, Mark and Amanda, I think we are going to have a good deal of some dry time for the upcoming weekend, so don't worry about it being a washout, but we are still going to need that umbrella if you're going to be out there. Those rain chances about 30% on Saturday, and then they start to ramp up again here for the second half of the weekend. Right now, things are fairly quiet on Storm Team 6 radar, and I think they're going to be staying that way for much of the evening. Some light rain showers around Richmond and the Brookville area, and then we've got a couple of very spotty showers here. One near Greenwood that's going to continue to slide off to the east, and another one there just south of Mooresville. Temperatures have recovered many spots back into the middle 70s this afternoon and this evening. Those temperatures in the low 70s through 8 o'clock. We'll see those numbers 67 degrees at 10 o'clock with partly cloudy skies. We'll take you through your weekend in just a few minutes.
See you soon, Kyle. Primary election day is 18 days from today in Indiana, but do not expect all the results on June 2nd. And that's because coronavirus is changing the way many people will vote. Thousands of Hoosiers are requesting to vote by mail this year due to coronavirus. In fact, Secretary of State Connie Lawson is encouraging it. Lawson said today it will likely take 2 or 3 days to get results for some counties, including Marion County. She said counties are trying to get as many people as possible to help count ballots to reduce the amount of time it takes to get results.
Absolutely. We are not expecting to have the results at 7 or 8 o'clock on election night. It's going to be nearly impossible.
Now, the deadline to request an absentee ballot to vote by mail is this Thursday, May 21st. You can request one online at indianavoters.in.gov. You do not have to provide a reason. You can just request one.
Now let's get to the numbers that we do know right now, the impact of coronavirus on Hoosiers, and today, a jump in deaths. This chart that we're going to show you gives you a snapshot of the reports this week. We started off on Sunday at 17 deaths reported in one day, the lowest number of the week, and now today, on Friday, the highest number at 42. Those new deaths were reported between May 5th and yesterday. Indiana's total number of deaths is 1,550. The state reports that intensive care beds and ventilator capacity remain steady. Just more than 39% of the ICU beds and 80% of the ventilators were available as of today. The most ICU beds and ventilators in use right now are for non-COVID patients. The number of people who have been tested has grown steadily throughout the week. As of today, more than 165,000 Hoosiers have been tested. 614 new positive cases were reported today for a total of 26,655 cases since this all began. And now there are even more locations for testing. New COVID-19 testing sites opened up today at 5 Walmart stores in central Indiana. RTV6's Kelsey Anderson visited one of those locations on the north side.
We've got over 100 sites currently in the U.S.
Kevin Thompson is the Director of Public Relations and Public Affairs for Walmart.
We're just looking to play a role in the community and support the state and local leaders to help promote testing in the community.
Today, Walmart, along with eTruth North and state and local officials, opened up 6 new testing sites in Indiana. These testing sites are for people who meet CDC guidelines on who needs to be tested. That includes first responders, healthcare providers, people with symptoms of COVID-19, and those who are in high-risk groups without symptoms. Those interested in being tested need to visit doineedacovid19test.com to see if they're eligible for testing and to make an appointment. You must have an appointment to get tested at these Walmart locations because times are limited. They are only doing them from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and there are 6 locations, 3 in Indianapolis, 1 in Greenwood, 1 in Canby, and 1 in Paoli.
So we're looking at about 40 folks, testing 40 folks from 7 to 9.
What's different about the testing here is you will administer it yourself. But Market Health and Wellness Director Kunal Patel says a registered pharmacist will be there to help.
So they're here to help them, guide them through how to do it in detail. It's fairly simple. So and they watch them as they do it to make sure that they're doing it correctly and answer any questions.
Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Well, Thompson tells RTV6 the testing will continue at these locations for as long as it's needed. For a link to make an appointment and to see where the sites are, look for this story on the IndyChannel.com.
We are starting to learn more about a dangerous inflammatory syndrome in children that could be linked to COVID-19. And right now, doctors believe it is rare, but parents and local daycare centers say they are keeping a close eye out for it. RTV6's Megan Singh-Torum spoke with experts at Riley Hospital for Children to find out what doctors are seeing here and how you can keep your kids safe.
Healthcare experts say it's rare, but a potentially dangerous condition is affecting some children. It's one that can cause inflammation of the heart or other organs, and it can look like swelling or a rash. According to the CDC, it's been reported in the UK and New York City. Many children experiencing this syndrome have tested positive for COVID-19. Here locally, doctors at Riley Hospital for Children say they have not yet seen any cases of this condition. They say most children testing positive for COVID-19 are showing traditional respiratory symptoms and make a full recovery. They say this inflammatory syndrome is similar to something called Kawasaki disease, which is often triggered by infections and something doctors across the nation already have experience with.
When you look at children's hospitals, there are professionals that know how to manage and take care of sick children. So a lot of those supportive care things that we do for other children with problems are the same things that we would use for COVID patients.
He says the best way to protect your child is to continue practicing social distancing. Leaders at local daycare centers say they already have extra precautions in place to keep kids safe. They say the biggest thing they and parents can do is to constantly monitor their child's condition.
That will be the key piece, is making sure that we're monitoring children throughout the day and making sure that we stay aware of anything that changes and then letting families know.
Working for you, Megan Singh-Torum, RTV6.
And the CDC is asking physicians to report any cases of this inflammatory syndrome so they can continue to monitor it and learn more.
3 ER nurses working on the front lines are now recovered from COVID-19. RTV6's Stephanie Wade sits down with them as they do something today in hopes of helping others fighting the disease.
Along this row, sitting side by side, these 3 women are not only co-workers, but also COVID-19 survivors, having contracted the coronavirus, working as ER nurses on the front lines. Contact tracing proved for at least one of them they became infected by a patient in the ER. Their symptoms not much different from each other's.
Cough, headache, fatigue, body aches.
Fever, just a dry cough, some nausea. I lost my sense of taste and smell. And my worst symptom was my body aches in my lower back and my legs, to the point where I was on the floor, nearly in tears for about 2 days.
Absolute worst fatigue you've ever had in your life. It's really awful. People say it's like the flu, but it's like 1,000 times worse than the flu.
Now fully recovered and back at work, they are here today to donate their convalescent plasma to be used in a trial treatment with the hopes their antibodies can help critically ill patients lessen the severity of their symptoms.
I just feel so blessed to have been able to recover from COVID-19, and I feel like it's an opportunity to give back, as well as an obligation.
We don't have treatments. We don't have a vaccine yet. This is all we have that's helping. So if I can do anything to help at all, then it's not just something I can do, it's something I should do.
In this together. Working for you, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
Well, all 3 nurses are now back working in the ER. Each plasma donation they make can help up to 3 COVID patients.
Still ahead on the news at 5, a lifeline for businesses forced to close during the pandemic, how one county is providing much needed aid. And you are going to have to make your own strawberry shortcake this year, the Longtime Festival that won't be held for the first time in its history.
And the mild temperatures are going to stick around through the weekend, but once this weather system slides through, those temperatures take a dip. We'll talk about how cool they'll be next week. You're watching RTV6 News at 5.
For just $1, only at Hardee's.
Many businesses in Marion County took a step toward reopening today. Malls like the Fashion Mall at Keystone and many retailers were allowed to open at 50% capacity. We were allowed into the Fashion Mall before shoppers arrived. They have masks available, new signage about staying 6 feet apart, and hand sanitizing stations. Occupancy will be limited in restrooms and some sinks blocked off to allow for adequate spacing. This will be the same at other Simon malls in Marion County, including Circle Center and Castleton Square. The Rebound Indiana is our initiative here at RTV6 that in part focuses on connecting small business owners who have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic with resources. RTV6's Nicole Griffin is in Hamilton County tonight, finding out about a new program and how it's helping local businesses move forward to reopen.
Purse Strings here in Clay Terrace is one of the many small businesses forced to close down during the pandemic. For 6.5 weeks, the owner and all of the employees were at home and not here selling any of these gifts and products. But during that time, they were still forced to pay rent. On the very first day the governor allowed it, Paul Braun opened his store in Clay Terrace.
I think that day I was the only one open in the mall.
He took over as owner of Purse Strings after the previous owners retired in 2018.
We specialize in women's accessories, handbags, and jewelry.
Before the pandemic, the store was doing well.
My business was up prior to the closing over last year, probably about 4 or 5%. My first week, I was down about 40%.
But right now, his biggest concern is,
how am I going to pay rent? I mean, that's, it's a big chunk of my business, and it's actually more than my payroll.
With his store in the Fashion Mall reopening, he is able to bring back at least 2 furloughed employees. But since reopening the Clay Terrace store,
it's just been me 11 to 7 every day. That's why I reopened as soon as I could to start getting things paid, and luckily I've not had payroll yet because I've not had any employees here yet.
To help make ends meet, Braun applied for a grant from the Hamilton County Stabilization Fund for small businesses that were forced to close during the pandemic.
You don't want to walk around the town square in Noblesville or up and down Main Street in Carmel or any of these areas and start to see those little unique storefront businesses start to close, because that's what's going to start happening here real soon.
If I could cover a month's worth of rent, when I was closed, that would be, super beneficial.
Braun has applied for the Paycheck Protection Program loan as well and has not received it. He says getting this grant money from Hamilton County would make a big difference. Working for you in Carmel, Nicole Griffin, RTV6.
Well, businesses can apply for up to $10,000 in grant money to be used for rent, utilities, insurance. The deadline is next Friday, May 22nd, on the Hamilton County website. Payments will be sent out no later than June 9th. Around 80 businesses have applied so far, but many are automatically disqualified because they were not forced to close during the pandemic.
RTV6 is proud to be working together with the United Way of Central Indiana during this crisis, and we are teaming up for the COVID-19 Community Economic Relief Fund. The initiative supports organizations that serve people and families affected by the pandemic. And to support that effort, RTV6 donated $10,000 to the fund. Our Rafael Sanchez made the check presentation to the United Way.
We know that one day this pandemic will be gone, but we also know that when the health crisis is gone, there will be many families and individuals that are left needing help from the economic trauma that is left behind. And we will be here to help them because that's what we do.
So far, the fund has distributed more than $15.8 million to 100 organizations in Central Indiana. If you would like to make a donation to the fund, you can do so by texting HELP 2020 to 91999. Cal Mounts joins us now with our forecast. We saw some rain today, but I think a lot of people are wondering what their weekend is going to look like.
Yeah, and again, I think we're going to have some very nice temperatures and a lot of dry time that we're going to work into that weekend forecast. We're actually seeing some sunshine return, poking through some of that cloud cover, and that's allowed temperatures to bounce back into the 70s this afternoon. It's 74 downtown, 75 in Bloomington, and an even 70 degrees for you in Greenwood. We saw that one little isolated shower there around Greenwood and northern portions of Johnson County, temporarily cooling you back down. We've had a cold front move through with those showers, so now the winds are turning more westerly and going to bring in some slightly cooler air, but I think we're in good shape if you want to head out for that walk this evening. Henry Duff is ready there in Bloomington to take that gingerly stroll this evening, enjoying retirement now at 14 years old. Was a therapy dog and also help the kids out there with some learning disabilities. So our thanks to Henry, and say hi if you see him out there on the walk tonight. All right, as we check out the forecast, there's a look at TrueCast, and you can see, again, I really don't think we'll see much in the way of any additional showers for us this evening into the overnight hours of our Saturday. As we go into the morning, temperatures going to be pretty comfortable here. We'll start off the weekend in the upper 50s, right around 60 in Bloomington, 59 in Indianapolis, and those temperatures will again warm up as we go throughout our Saturday, because I think most of us are going to start off with dry conditions here. We'll get into the middle and upper 70s for that afternoon high, and notice that those rain chances will come back in here as we go through the afternoon. Your high close to 80 in Bloomington, right about 80 degrees in the Columbus area, and pretty much not too far from that in Logansport and Peru at 78. TrueCast, as we go into the afternoon, shows again very isolated shower coverage here. As we go into Saturday night, still not going to see a whole lot. If we do see a few downpours, I don't think we're going to see any severe weather throughout our Saturday. And then as we go into Sunday, that's where things will get a little more active. But again, starting off with some dry weather here, it's more likely as we go into the late afternoon and the evening hours that we'll see some more widespread rain and some of those rumbles of thunder. In fact, on Sunday, we do have a marginal risk all across the state, primarily for some gusty winds. Again, that would be on an isolated basis out of those downpours. But behind that system, it will bring in cooler air. We'll go from a high of 77 on Sunday to barely into the 60s here on Monday, and it looks like that will stick around for a couple of days. Those cooler temperatures were in the 60s for highs through Wednesday, but primarily dry conditions, and then we'll start to warm things up a little bit heading toward the end of next week. Again, a couple rain chances this weekend, and then things will dry out as we go through the upcoming week. Mark?
All right, Kyle, thanks for the update there. Disappointing news for strawberry shortcake lovers. Today we learned that Christchurch Cathedral will not be holding its annual Strawberry Festival on Monument Circle this year due to the pandemic. This is the first time it won't be held since this event began 55 years ago. Even though the 55th festival won't be held until 2021, the Cathedral women are asking you to consider the $7 you would spend on the works toward the Community Small Grant Program. They're going to be paid, but not for doing their real jobs. How giving back will help some employees earn a paycheck until they can return to work.
Apply online today.
Today, the restrictions began easing in Indianapolis on some businesses, but many small businesses will have to wait to reopen, including hair salons.
RTV6's Rafael Sanchez introduces us to the dozens of employees who will still be paid while working together and doing charity work.
Great Clips in Plainfield reopened with social distancing rules in place. The salon, like many other businesses, was forced to close following the governor's order addressing COVID-19.
March 24th, our money just stopped.
Right.
And our payroll is almost $200,000 every 2 weeks. So we were out of money. A week later, we started tapping in all of our lines of credits. You know, we racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get us to here.
William Wright owns 30 Great Clip stores with 230 employees. About half work in the 15 salons in Marion County, which can't reopen until possibly June the 1st. Until then, employees will receive paychecks. In fact, Wright will pay his employees to work with local charities. He called RTV6 looking for ideas, and we suggested several groups, including Meals on Wheels.
They were ecstatic. They absolutely would like for us to help.
Great Clips employees will be able to make food deliveries, or they can help package food boxes for families in central Indiana. Face masks, gloves, and social distancing will be required during those efforts.
The idea that companies like Great Clips are finding creative ways to utilize their workforce during this and to give back it's just a win-win for everyone.
This is a time for us to come together as a community. I mean, we need to help each other out. That's how we're going to get through this. And thank you so much for helping me get that connection. It helped out greatly.
Working for you in Indianapolis, Rafael Sanchez, RTV6.
And Great Clips plans to begin its volunteering efforts next week. Every week, Meals on Wheels serves about 1,200 people in central Indiana. COVID-19 has been particularly deadly for people living in nursing homes, but the state is not making the COVID-19 numbers at each long-term care facility public, angering many families. Why that could be changing tonight at 6. And here's a live look at the Sam's Jones Expressway, where you can see some little chicks right there hanging over the freeway, looking down at all the cars driving by. And if you look up in the top right corner, you can see the parents' feather tails watching over them and keeping an eye on all those cars out there. We'll be back for the news at 6 right here on RTV6.